Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sky's the Limit. I'm your host, Khalid Butt. Famous philosopher and writer Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Poetry creates the myth, the prose writer draws its portrait." In Pakistan, we've had many poets and writers who've made a name for themselves, not only in our country, Pakistan, but also the world over. Our guest today is one of them. His forte, writing on Islam, Kashmir and Iqbal, among other topics. He's written 26 books in 7 different languages and has been a cultural ambassador for Pakistan in different countries of the world. He has taught English literature in Pakistan and in the United States. His name is Dr.Maqsood Jaafri, and we will be trying to decipher the person behind the personality in this very episode of Sky's the Limit. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we've been joined by our guest for today's episode of Sky's the Limit, Dr. Maqsood Jaafri. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have given us the time.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Saab, tell us a little bit about your childhood and your early years.
I was born in Poonch city, Kashmir. And I was just 20 days old when my family migrated, because my father, Tahsin Jaafri, was a well-known public speaker and educationist. And he, in Kashmir, in Poonch city, was very vocal about the accession of Pakistan of Kashmir to Pakistan. And the Maharaja had issued orders of his arrest, so he had to come to Pakistan, migrated. So our family migrated from Poonch city. And I would like to tell you that, first of all, I must say that my father, Tahsin Jaafri, he had written books. He was a poet also. Dil-e Lakht Lakht, The Fragmented Heart is his poetry book, and Pochthar, his Kashmiri poetry book, and he had written something on Islam and Iqbal also. Yes, he was author of 10 books. Then I studied at Muslim High School, Saidpur Road. I did my matriculation from
In Rawalpindi.
Rawalpindi.
All right, so you settled in Rawalpindi when you migrated from occupied Kashmir.
Because my father was editor of Weekly Kashmir. It was the organ of Information Ministry of Pakistan, Federal Information Ministry of Pakistan. So we settled down here, and I was declared the best speaker in Punjab. And
At what age?
I think it was in 1963 when I did my metric. Just 16 years old. And at that time, I had started writing poetry as well.
So the love for the poetry, Dr. Maqsood
Jaafri,
began at a very young age.
Yeah, it is inherited. When I was a 10th class student, I wrote a couplet, "Jala de main kade ko apni aatish-e dil se, कि शायद इससे रोशन जिंदगी की रात हो जाए."
All right. Your inspiration in your early years, you said you wrote your first couplet when you were in metric. Who was your inspiration? Was it your father?
Actually,
or was it somebody?
My father was poet, and he had very good friends like Sayyid Zamir Jaafri. All great poets used to visit our family. My father used to visit them, scholars, poets, writers. So I just picked up that, passion from my father.
But you were other siblings as well. You have other brothers and sisters as well. Did any of your other brother or sister took also poetry?
My elder brother, Major Rafiq Jaafri, he is a poet, and he's a very good orator, a religious scholar as well. And he has also written, I think, 6-7 books. The latest is Ehsas-e-Ziyan, his collection of Urdu ghazal. So in our family, we 2 brothers are writers as well.
All right. When you started writing at an early age, did your father also used to look through what you were writing, and did he correct you sometimes?
When I was in Gordon College, one of the best colleges, I studied there in my FA and my bachelor graduation. When I was young, my father didn't encourage me for poetry. He said that, first of all, you complete your studies and don't, poetry is a passion. He knew that if once he's, in the tenacious grip or in the, is with that, so he may be wasting his time. So he didn't encourage in the, earlier age. But once he said, yes, I know you're a poet, you write nice. Sometimes, of course, there's no doubt in it. And he used to, when I was young, he used to guide me. And we say sometimes that he was my literary or that's mentor. But I was very passionate. I was a voracious reader. I used to meet great people. Suppose one of my books, Gosha Kafas, its preface was written by Joshmali Abadi. One of the greatest poet of the age. I used to sit with him. But at later age, when I was a young lecturer of English at Gordon College, so he was in Islamabad, living in Islamabad, Joshmali Abadi. So it was my proud privilege to visit him at least once in a week. And we used to sit and listen to him, his poetry, and sometimes I used to recite my poetry. So once I asked him to write the foreword of my poetry, Gosha Kafas. So he very kindly wrote. Then Ahmad Faraz also wrote, and like I had good time. And as a poet, I used to meet Faiz Ahmad Faiz when he was here, chairman of Arts Council. And Faraz was my very good friend, very personal friend.
All right, Dr. Saab, you said that even growing up as a kid, you used to see all the big poets come to your house and meet your father and have sittings with your father. Which kind of poetry inspired you as a child, as a young adult?
You know, it is quite natural. When you are young, you are very passionate. Of course, it's a natural poetry. I always say that poet must be natural. Natural in the sense, when you are young, you are romantic. So the first book was Mataye Dard. Mataye Dard means the wealth of agony, you can say, pathos, ethos, etc. And later on, when I studied, like Rumi and Iqbal and Shakespeare and Milton, the masters of international literature, automatically when you study from intuition and passion, you come to thought, to message. Now at this age, I have, mostly I write on human values. I believe in liberty, I believe in justice, I believe in humanity and
democracy.
Democracy. I'm very staunch supporter of democracy, and I had a very tough time during martial arts in Pakistan. And even some democratic so-called Democrats, I can't temperamentally, I can't bear, I can't tolerate external pressures on myself, on my mind, or on the nations. And I have visited so many countries in the world, in Muslim countries and the Western countries. So I have been, in a way, I should say that it has become my ideology that we are human beings, we are equal, we should be respected, revered, loved, esteemed, we are free born, and I do not
and this respect this should be reciprocal from both sides. If you respect someone, the other person also needs to respect you.
I believe in human dignity. You are talking, if you say, can I just read one?
Please, please, please.
Just see the name, Songs of Humanity. So it shows that I am much interested in democracy, in humanity, in human norms, in human rights. My study of philosophy, and I had been teaching at postgraduate level in Pakistan, Gordon College and postgraduate college, and then some colleges in America. I had been delivering lectures on philosophy and religion and comparative study of religion and literature. So I'm convinced that humanism or humanitarianism, it is the core and crux of all revealed religions. So if you are not a good human being, I don't think that has any claim I belong to this religion or this philosophy, not at all. Just see here, if you permit me, I had very good meetings in New York with Benazir Bhutto Sahaba, the former Prime Minister, and very few people know that she was very much interested in poetry and mysticism. And mostly we discussed literature, philosophy, not so all the time politics. Because she had developed a good taste for literature, she said that she was much impressed by Shelley. So I sent her some poems, and she wrote, I just want to read a few words. Dr.Maqsood Jaafri, dear Dr.Maqsood Jaafri, thank you for sharing the beautiful poem titled The Open Book of Nature with me. It was thought-provoking and provided useful insight about the wonders of nature. May God grant us all the wisdom to appreciate and absorb the beauty and truth of all this within our respective beings and try to change ourselves for the better and understand the true meaning of life. Benazir Bhutto.
Dr. Saab, in this little foreword that Benazir Bhutto Sahaba has written for one of your poems, she says, she talks about the meaning of life. What do you understand by life, sir? What
Meaning
are
of
the
life-
ingredients of life?
You know, meaning of life, what I have now concluded throughout my experiences, study of practical life, because I am a very humble political activist as well. So I am not a secluded writer that the man sitting in a place that I am sitting in a forest jungle, secluded or separate from society. I am not separate from society. Being a poet and humble writer, I had taken very active part in politics. So I know that if you serve humanity, if you are a good human being, this is the meaning of life. If a person is not a good, well, you would say that good human being, what is the definition of good and bad? I say if a man is positive, he's a good human being. If a man is negative, now negative means he's destructive, he's jealous, he always is a manures against people or evildoer. So it is very clear that people trust you and you come to their trust level. Nowadays people have become so dubious that people even don't trust their close relatives, their brothers or friends. It's very bad.
Human norms, you talk about human norms, human values, Dr. Saab. When did the notion of human values or human norms started to inculcate in your personality? At what age did you start to become aware of human rights, of human values, and that you needed to fight for those values?
I tell you very honestly, I have one of my books, the Message of Islam. It was was published in New York in 2007, and in that book I have written about human rights also, that the Torah, the Bible, the Semitic three religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, okay? The Torah, the Bible and the Quran. I tell you honestly that if you just read these revealed books, they all are all out for human norms, human values. What the priests have done, the clerics have done, the rabbis have done, that's a different story. I don't agree with them. They have created, the personal taboos and rituals and rites and attacking each other, the bloodshed. The human history is replete with the blood in the name of religion. It's very sad. My study is this, that you respect everybody besides color, creed, caste, etc. This is my very strong conviction. So human rights, human values are the message of all prophets. You see what Abraham said, or David, or Solomon, or Moses, Jesus, you name anybody, Prophet Muhammad. So basically I'm very much convinced with the message of the Quran. There's no doubt in it that I'm sorry to say that I have met so many Muslim scholars or priests. You say Maulana Sahib. I should not name them. In Pakistan, all big Maulana. Maybe they are the leaders or the chairmen of some parties. They are my friends. As a scholar, they meet me, I meet them. Very important people, even in Pakistan. But I always tell them that don't be sectarian. Give the fraternal, universal, humanistic message of the Quran.
That's very important, Dr.
Because
Saab,
I have
to
studied
give that
Arabic also.
message.
You know, in my student at Muslim high school, I studied Arabic. Then in Gordon College, I studied the subject as Arabic, besides my master's in English. And Persian is, I learned it because in the love of Rumi, and then I was awarded gold medal by the government of Iran. Last time I went there with Dr. Javed Iqbal, the son of Dr. Allama Iqbal. My English poetry book, Visions and Vistas, he wrote its preface, I think 30 years back, when he was Chief Justice.
Dr. Saab, you have written books in 7 different languages, which include Persian, which include
It is,
English.
I wrote poetry in English, in Arabic, in Persian, in Urdu, in Kashmiri, in Punjabi, in Potwari. These are published.
And all these languages, sir, at which level did you learn them?
Actually, I tell you, when I was I'm throughout the first divisional. My father wanted me to become a bureaucrat. I said, Father, I am a board politician speaker. I will become a politician. I will do my law.
All right.
At that time in Islamabad, there was no law college.
All right.
My father didn't want to send me. He didn't send me to Lahore. He said, you are very outrageous speaker. You are, you don't care about any government or any party or any person. You say truth whatsoever you say. So it is very dangerous. So you are very young. So you will take part in Lahore politics, and in law college, mostly people come from feudal background. So there are always feuds and clashes and this and that. So he didn't send me. So then I did my master's. I started teaching.
And you did your master's from where, sir?
I did my master's from Punjab University.
All
that
right.
was affiliated.
So you did
Garden
your
College.
metric from a school in Rawalpindi,
Muslim
went to
High
Gordon
School,
College.
then Garden College.
And from
Garden College was affiliated with Punjab University.
All right.
So it was Punjab University, but Garden College was affiliated.
All right. How was your experience at Gordon College? Because at that time, Gordon College was like the best, one of the best in the country.
At the time, it was American Institute, and we had American professors and a few Pakistanis, but very learned people. And as you have said very rightly, that Gordon College was one of the best colleges in Pakistan.
So of course, Gordon College has brought many great people from which have gone into
Great
different
additions, yes, great
avenues of society. Yes.
Scientists, philosophers, writers, poets, senators. Gordon College has very, you can say, rich history and great tradition.
All right. So, Dr. Saab, you do your masters from the Punjab University, and then you start teaching at the Gordon College. Which levels were you teaching?
I started teaching FA classes, then BA, then MA, ultimately.
All right. And which
When I
language
become
were
C.
you teaching? What
Of
subject?
course, English literature.
All right, English literature.
Then when I had been teaching American literature to MA classes.
All right.
Then I was taken as advisor. Sardar Abdul Qayyum Khan, the Prime Minister of Azad Kashmir, he took me as advisor. So far, from 91 to 96, I remained advisor in Kashmir to the Prime Minister, and I worked a lot on Kashmir. In those days, I had been participating with the Prime Minister at international level. So we went to different countries, Muslim countries. The Plight of Kashmir, it was published by Kashmir Liberation Cell 20 years ago. And it is an authentic book which is presented to all foreigner diplomats, or foreigners or diplomats, officially by the government of Kashmir. So 2 months back, this book was again published by National Book Foundation Islamabad 2 months ago. And the MD, Dr. Nawal and Amul Haq Javed, was telling me that we have sent this book to all important ambassadors. I said, very good, Kashmir issue must be highlighted. So it is also commitment with Kashmir.
Exactly. We'll come to the Kashmir issue because this is a very important and relevant issue in the world today, something that is still unresolved, just as the Palestinian issue. But before that, let's come to your educational achievements. You were teaching and then you went to the United States to do a PhD.
After my retirement, because I got premature retirement 12 years earlier, because I was fed up. As I said, I taught 25 years, that's sufficient. Then I was asked, I did some work with Benazir Bhutto, asked me to, I became the political research cell. She asked me, I was in charge and advisor on matters. She used to get some written material, suggestions, etc. So I used to sit in the Central Secretariat. I gave some time to politics.
Your PhD, did you start it at the same time as your newspaper from New York?
Yeah, no. Before that, I did Geoffrey Chaucer's social aspects. So Rochdale University, I wrote my thesis. Then I did my.
How long did it take you to finish your PhD?
It takes at least 3 years when you write.
All right.
Yeah.
And your thesis was on Chaucer.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Chaucer as your?
Chaucer had. I have written much on Chaucer. Chaucer represented the class society, different people, the priests, their character, the capitalists, the government servants, the ladies. So it is, a panorama of different class society, of different people. I had been teaching Chaucer also at MA level in Garden College and Government College when I started. So one of my favorite poets. Well, you know, as far as you're talking about poetry, in Punjabi poetry, I was very much impressed by all the time Saif al-Muluk Mian Muhammad Bakhsh. And I sometimes I decide with my mood, I like it. When I advised it to the government of Kashmir Prime Minister, I made a special, you know, I asked the Deputy Commissioner of Mirpur and the principal that we had made Mian Muhammad Bakhsh Society, and then ultimately they published some material Urdu and English on him. So similarly in suppose in Persian, I am very much impressed by Amir Khusro, Rumi, and Hafiz Shirazi. In 2012, I was invited in Tehran in poetry festival, and I was made head of that. You see the people from Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, India, professors of universities who spend all their life teaching Persian literature at university level. When I was made head, because they said they felt my superiority in poetry. And some friends didn't like it because some Indian professors, they were, you know, thought, oh, Pakistani professor Dr. Jaafri is doctor of English literature and poet of English, and we are Persian scholars and poets and writers, and he's the head of, because I spoke Persian fluently with them.
Poetry was also romantic in nature.
Well, when I was young, I just told you that a young man must write romantic poetry. Then it became mystic, it became revolutionary. Suppose Gosha Kafas is one of my books published during Ziaul regime. When it was published, some people from different agencies visited me. I will not name them. They said, this is Gosha Kafas, the corner of cage. So, are you in cage? I said, yes, I'm in cage. How? I said, Mashallah, Ziaul regime. I'm a Democrat. I am in a cage. So that became a very tough time. You know, even the name tells you, Gosha Kafas.
So your poetry has had different periods and
of
different
evolution process.
Exactly. You've gone from the romanticism to mysticism.
In mysticism, I tell you one thing. The traditional word Sufism and mysticism, I don't agree with it.
All right.
Open.
And why? Why so?
It has become a profession. Okay? When I say Gnosticism, mysticism, spiritualism, I mean only two things. Only two things. For that, there's one of my poems, I am a spiritualist. It is one of my poems in Visions and Vistas, in my English poetry. When I say that I am a spiritualist, I negate atheism, materialism, agnosticism, skepticism. I am a believer. But my belief is that God is one, all humanity is one. The oneness
Irrespective
of, God,
of caste, of creed.
no, not at all. God is one. The concept of monotheism to me, as a very humble student of religion, philosophy, and literature, when we say God is one, it means the whole of humanity is one community.
All right. You've never forgotten, sir, the issues, the international issues that matter to you, whether it be philosophy or human values, and you've always tried to promote them through your words, through your prose, through your poetry. But on a very parallel level comes your personal life. Do you feel, sir, that as a person, you have been able to give equal time to your family as you've given to your profession?
Yes, thanks to God, my wife is my cousin's sister, and she has been very cooperative. She is not feeling well. She has some disc problem. She can't sit. So she is on medicine. And well, I have three sons. Ajmal Hussain, the eldest one, he did his MBA from Preston University and from Islamabad University. And he spent some time in London as well. He's in office, he's a very good speaker also. And he was very good speaker at school level also. And the second one is, he did his graduation from New York, and he settled there, Akmal.
All right.
And the third one is Bester Afzal. He is here today, and he is practicing lawyer in Islamabad. And he is a very good writer and speaker. He writes in, sometimes he writes in, you know, Nation and the news. Sometimes he writes in English newspapers, And his book, Kashmir and Human Rights, has been recently published because my father, then myself, then my son, the third generation committed to Kashmir cause.
All right, that's an interesting notion that all generations have written a book on the Kashmir issue and how much all generations in your family have given importance to that issue. But sir, let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk about your wife. Your wife, as you said, was a family member. At what period of time did you people get married? And what were you doing at that time?
I did my master's, then I started teaching at Garden College, and after at the age of 25, I married, and she was, I think, like 19, 18 years from Ba, Kashmir. She's my cousin. And she has been very cooperative, I tell you honestly. My friends coming, ladies, gents, because I was very much involved in literature, and I had been all the time inviting different scholars, politicians, ministers, ambassadors at my residence. It is one of my good or bad habits that I'm a social man. I must invite people. Here also I invite people. So over a cup of tea or lunch or dinner. So I like it to have that. So my wife had been very much cooperative.
Well, Dr. Saab, now that we have kind of initiated the subject of your personal and family life, let's invite one of your family members and ask what he thinks of you as a father.
I have one thing. One is my son, Best Afzal Hussain, he's here, and my granddaughter, the daughter of Ajmal Hussain, the eldest son. She writes poetry in English also, and sometimes coming to me, Dada Abu, I have written this. So I just see, okay, this is good. So yesterday she came. I told her that you should be here when I'm introduced. She said, Dada, should I write a poem on you? I said, write. So she wrote something, and then
all right. So we will kind of be sharing that with you, as well as what the family of Dr. Saab think about him as a father and as a person right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and as we had promised you before the break, we're going to introduce you with one segment of Dr. Maqsood Jaafri's family, and here they are, his youngest son, Mr. Barrister Afzal Hussain, as well as his two granddaughters. Let's ask them about Dr. Maqsood Jaafri and what and how they find him as a grandfather and as a father. Well, let's start with you, Barrister Saab. Barrister Saab, I heard from your father that you have the rare acknowledgement of being at the Lincoln's Inn, the place where our Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah also learnt the trade of law from.
That's true. It was a great privilege for me that I went to Lincoln's Inn, and I was doing my BBC Bar vocational course from Cardiff Law School, and eventually I was called to the bar by the Honourable Lincoln's Inn. And it was an excellent experience, and it is a matter of great pride for me. I take a lot of pride. It's a family pride, basically, that I went to the same institution, which is basically an honourable society, which I was called to the Bar of England, Wales, and I was there for between 2006 and 7.
All right. So the experience did teach you a lot of things, and also a moment of pride for you when you saw the portrait of our Qaid hanging there.
That's true. You see, it was a matter of great satisfaction and a matter of great national pride that Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's portrait was in Lincoln's Inn, and it was the only, he is the only non-white person who has been acknowledged by the Honourable Society of Lincoln's Inn to this extent that his portrait is hanging in the Lincoln's Inn.
Right.
So we, being Pakistanis, all my course mates, we used to take a lot of pride, and it's a personal and national connection with the Lincoln's Inn.
Barrister Saab, tell us a little bit about your father. How have you found him as a father and then as a person?
I think he's an amazing father, and he has inculcated some basic principles in all of us. Humanity, and the principle of justice and fairness, integrity and honesty. He has always stressed on these principles that everything comes later, but the first should be your country, and he has inculcated patriotism in us. And he has always, since my childhood, I have witnessed that he keeps on reading on daily basis for hours and hours. And as a father, he is very kind, he's very gentle with all of us. And I'm the youngest son, and these are my two nieces, daughters of my eldest brother. And I'm certain that all of us have same opinion about him as a person, and he's an excellent person. He's an excellent person, and I take a lot of pride that I am his son, because wherever I go, people express a lot of respect towards him as a professor, as a poet, as a scholar, and it's a family pride, I would
All
say.
right. The family pride also includes writing, I see, because I have your book on Kashmir and human rights that you've written by yourself that has also gotten a lot of accolades from different people who've written great forwards on the book. Does writing kind of, this gene comes in the family because your grandfather used to write, your father has been writing, and now it comes to you?
Certainly, I think that it stems from my grandfather, then to my father, and then to myself. And my father has been the kind of person that he has always acknowledged and appreciated my writings. But whenever it has been published, before publishing, it's not that he will ask me to amend it or delete it or to add it. It has never happened. So he has always given us this independent thought that if you want to become an independent writer, you should write on your own, you should do your research, and you should use the appropriate language. The language should be temperate, it should be decent, and your writing should reflect decency. So this is what I have taken from
Have you
my
ever
father.
asked for him for advice while writing your different books?
You see, this Kashmir and Human Rights, basically it's a compilation of all my published material in different English and Urdu newspapers of the country on the Kashmir issue, and there is some aspect to which highlights the Palestine issue as well.
Tell us, has your father been a strict person as well, or more of a friend to you?
I would say my father has always been more of a friend, but more of a friend in every sense of the word, but that is within the Eastern parameters of the interpretation of the word. So he has, at times he would basically direct us or instruct us to do something, but generally speaking, and that is obviously beneficial for all of us.
All right, let's go to the young women that are seated just next to you. Tell us your name.
My name is Maham.
Maham, how old are you and which class are you studying in?
I'm 10 and I'll be 11 and I'm in grade 5.
Oh, that's a huge achievement. Grade 5, is it a difficult class?
No, if I work hard, I can get anything I want.
Oh, that's great. And speaking of anything you want, you also write poetry, I've heard.
Yeah.
And just that love for poetry, does it come on its own, or was it your father who said, all right, if you want to write poetry, you can, or were you just writing it by yourself?
No, as my grandfather is he's a poet, and all of our family are like writing books and these kind of stuff. Like he talks about these kind of things, and like my uncle said that he is like always talking about these things. I hear him, and I have a passion of writing poems, but I also want to be a motivational speaker. You'll see me soon.
Oh, great. And
Inshallah.
at 10 years of age, you're a motivational speaker and a poet. You have written something, if I'm not wrong. Could you read some of that?
A pride of all times is my grandfather. He's a scion of sanity with tremendous glamour. He is a fiery orator, a scholar, a poet, and a sage. His glorious name is written on the golden page. Loving, kind, considerate, and caring is he. For the love of all humans, he has a strong plea. In the realm of ideas, he happily lives. The message of peace to all nations he gives. He is above the discrimination of color and race. No delusion he cherishes in selfish or sordid case. He is great, gorgeous, graceful, and gracious. Maqsood Jaafri seizes the moment with grip tenacious.
That's great. And for a girl of 11 or 10 years,
Yeah.
going on 11, that's pretty mature. And hats off. And I think in the next coming years, you'll be a name to reckon with as far as poetry and
Yeah,
prose is
inshallah.
concerned. And also as a motivational speaker, if you want. Let's go to the other girl now and ask her a little bit about herself. So now, young woman, tell us your name.
My name is Arisha.
And how old are you and in which class are you?
I'm 8 and I study in class 3.
Oh, is it a difficult class, Arisha?
No,
All right, let's talk about your grandfather. Do you like your grandfather?
I love him very much.
Okay. Is he a strict person or is he a very loving one?
Sometimes he's strict, but he's very kind heart.
He's very kind-hearted. All right. Does he bring you sweets or books or talk to you about different things?
No need for that. He's already so kind.
Oh, all right. And do you, like your sister, like to write?
Yeah.
Yes, you do? All right.
When she writes poems, I write stories.
You write stories. And which kind of stories do you like to write about?
Adventure.
Adventure. That's interesting. All right. If I had to ask you, do you like your grandfather more or your grandmother more? What would you say?
Father.
Grandfather. All right. Thank you very much, Arisha. Ladies and gentlemen, as you just saw, we talked to two different generations of Dr. Maqsood Jaafri, and they were all praise for their father and grandfather. We also had one of the granddaughters read a piece of poetry that she had written, eulogizing her grandfather. So the love does go and emanate as for the love between the family and the love for poetry and prose in the family, that is of Dr. Maqsood Jaafri. We'll be back after a short break. We'll ask the last couple of questions to our guests. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Maqsood Jaafri. Dr. Saab, your son told us that you have instilled patriotism in all your three sons as well as your grandchildren. What does patriotism mean to you?
You know, there's difference between nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism is not accepted at international level because it then promotes and projects people like Hitler, you know, Zionists. And the patriotism that al-hubbu watana min al-iman, it is the saying of the Holy Prophet, tradition of the Holy Prophet, that we must love our country. We migrated from Kashmir only for Pakistan on two-nation theory. So Pakistan is I should say to the people who live in foreign countries that you see just what happens there. If there's any so-called movement of terrorism or anything, the Muslims are in trouble. So Pakistan is our home. It is a last resort for everybody. So we are Pakistanis. We love all the world. We don't hate any country. But we have the right to be a Pakistani and true Pakistani, and that is patriotism. That you should love your country, your land. That's all. There's no pride or prejudice in it. That's important. So this means patriotism. So I always, as a professor, had been teaching to my students, and as a writer. So nowadays I also write in Urdu and English, some newspapers, columns regularly. So my message is that when I talk about humanity, about democracy, about universal values, it is my right to say that I'm a Pakistani and we must love our country and we must live and die for our country. This is patriotism.
All right.
But I don't believe in nationalism. It is a negative sense. That my country is the best country, so we are right and we can become aggressors or expansionists. No, patriotism doesn't mean that.
Sir, not only do you love your country, but you have instilled that in your children and your grandchildren. At the same time, you talk about Muslim unity. You're the chairman of a forum, that is the International Muslim Unity Forum. What kind of activities do you promote under this forum?
You know, I tell you, I'm very much impressed by two things. The Quranic message, my two books, The Message of Islam, it was published in New York. It's a very popular book in New York as a scholarly rational. And the second book is The Rational Study of Islam, my two books. Well, I have been always interested in the Quranic message, so the Muslim Ummah is one Ummah. Now we are facing two challenges. Inner, that is internal challenge, outer, external challenge. What are the challenges? The inner challenge is that we Muslims are divided into sects. So unity means, first of all, we should become Muslims. My study of the Quran has convinced me that the Quran says that وَاعْتَصَمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا. Hold tightly the rope of God and be not divided into sects. So this is a clear message. So why shouldn't we become Muslims instead of becoming sectarians? And nowadays you see that sectarianism has created problems in the whole world. Suppose what is happening, this Yemen and Egypt and Syria and Saudi Arabia and Iran, it's very sad that some imperialist forces, they are trying that the Muslims should be divided and sectarian feelings should be highlighted or ignited and to create discord and feuds and wars in them. So it's very dangerous. So my message had been always, because I just tell you that I had been very much impressed by the message of Dr. Allama Iqbal. His son had written 2 prefaces on my books also, and we were good friends. So message of Iqbal is the message of unity. So this is not the proper time and that I should discuss the philosophy of Iqbal, but I had been very serious student of Dr. Iqbal and the Quran from my very childhood. So inner conflict is this, that we should not become sectarians, religious extremism, it should be ended, eliminated, eradicated. The second is unity between Muslim nations, that the Muslim nations एक हों मुस्लिम हरम की पासबानी के लिए नील के साहिल से लेकर ताबखा के काशगर. Iqbal message that we should become one. Now what's happening, that just see what is happening now, the third war menace is there and the imperialists are trying that the Muslim countries, the way now there's this fight and this and that. So Muslim countries should become one. We are 57 countries. And the British colonialism created small states. Just see, I should not name the states, 15 lakh, 1 million, 2 million population in one state. If there's no oil, they will die of hunger. So I believe that now if you ask me that do you believe in the concept of Khilafat? Now this in this modern age, I believe in democracy, and Islamic system is a democratic system. In the Quran, Surah Shura, the verse of the counseling is very clear. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. The Prophet said that you have to get suggestions or counseling with your companions. Even the Prophet is not a dictator. So there is no concept of dictatorship or monarchy in Islam. I want that all Muslim countries should unite and there should be democracies. Allama Iqbal had said that I am seeing in the future all Muslim states will become democratic and they will unite. And we will have one assembly, that is Muslim assembly. Every country is free. I don't mean to say that now we become one state. How we can become one state? One country is here, the other country is here. But ultimately, eventually, all Muslim countries, they must have one central, like European Union. We can have Islamic Union, that is parliamentary union, having separate our own independent states. So if we do that, then the Muslim countries, the states, they will collaborate with each other, cooperate with each other, and they will not be exploited by the imperialists. That's important.
You're an expert on Iqbal, you're an expert on Islam, where you talk a lot about it, and also on the Kashmir issue and the Palestine issue, on which we've discussed earlier in the program as well. These are issues that are very close to your heart, and you've written different books on these topics, 26 books in all, in 7 different languages. Could you give the names of some of your books that you've written?
Some books, English books, prose, The Gleams of Wisdom, prose, The Message of Islam, prose, Love and Liberty, poetry, The Plight of Kashmir, prose, Third Universal Theory, prose, Testament of Truth, prose, Seeds of Sanity, poetry, Visions and Vistas, poetry, Philosophy of Soul, prose, The Rational Study of Islam, prose, The Ideas of Bhutto, prose, Songs of Humanity, poetry. And Urdu poetry is Shola Kashmir, Gosha Kafas, Nakhle Arzu, Mai Khana, Matai Dard, Auj Dar, Awaz Asr, Jabr Musalsal. And Urdu columns is Chirag Afkar, prose. Farsi poetry is Jam-e Wafa, Atash Ghazal, Halka Zanjeer. And last year my book Punjabi poetry was published Udika. And one is now in press in Lahore, That is Gumade Aflaq. So I have 26 books published at Madras.
That's brilliant. On different topics as well.
Yeah, different
So there's a
topics.
diversity in
Diversity.
your writing.
Yeah, of
Whether it be
course.
poetry, whether it be prose.
You know, Awaz-e-As, one of my Urdu poetry books, Awaz-e-As. It is 300 poems, but on all international issues, suppose Bosnia, what Muslims were killed there, Palestine, or on all international political matters. They are not only, now I don't write romantic poetry. I am very much concerned about, philosophical message and political message.
Dr. Saab, when you write something, when you begin to write a piece of poetry or prose, is there an inspiration that comes to your mind
You know, John
at
Keats,
any time
I
of the
agree.
day? Or
John Keats had said, poetry is like fresh leaves and like intermittent inspiration. I keep on reading, Well, I'm busy in politics. I worked in 2 political parties and spent my time, and I was advisor of the political cell of Benazir Bhutto also. Benazir Bhutto asked me at that time, I used to sit in the office. But, I give more time to, when I'm busy in political or social life, but I keep on studying. If I'm sitting in the car, somebody driving, or I'm visiting some country, sitting in the plane, I'll start reading. So I all the time read. I take pleasure in reading.
All right.
I take pleasure. I'm a voracious reader. So sometimes it is not deliberate as a award. It's not award. It is intuition. I don't know. Suddenly I start writing in any language because I keep on reading all the languages.
And of course, 7 languages. You can write in so many languages.
It is a matter of intuition and inspiration. And without any purpose or any planning, I just start writing.
What are the things that you have loved the most, and what are the things that you regret?
I have learned most, knowledge, piety, integrity, human rights, human values. I am very much happy that what time of life I spent, and even today I am writing, speaking. I will leave I'm a chief guest in a function, literary function in Arts or Operating Arts Council. People respect me, they give me love. The writers, they only need love and respect because we give love and respect to people. That's all. But I regret that the ideals of my leader, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Jinnah, I have read his speeches, his statements about him, books about him. Last time I was in New York in Kashmir conference, and I met the man who had written a book on Quaid-e-Azam. He said, well, Mr. Jinnah desired more than that. So then the philosophy of Iqbal. The country was created in the name of some ideology. I want to see Pakistan a modern, progressive, democratic state based on justice and human values and human rights. That's important. I feel that we need intellectuals to lead the nation. I'm sorry to say that after Quaid-e-Azam, we are still searching or trying to find the man of that honesty, integrity, and the traits of great leader.
All right.
So this is something that
That you regret.
Yeah, it's very
And
sad.
that you're looking for.
Yes,
in,
I'm looking
in the
for.
future generations and the current
Yeah,
generation.
because Dr. Iqbal has said, Mir Asad mardi ke zanjire gulauman bishkanad, didiyam az rozane diware zindane shuma. I'm seeing the man is coming who will break all the barricades and barriers, all the fetters and chains, and he will bring revolution. So I'm very much confident that Pakistan needs a social reformation or revolution. And we are giving education to our younger generation, and I wish so and I hope so. I am seeing light at the end of the tunnel. I am optimistic that Pakistan will exist as a great nation because younger generation is very much adamant to make this country a great country.
Well, on these very inspiring words, we'll end our conversation with you, Dr. Maqsood Jaafri. Thank you very much for your time, for your kind words, for your detailed introspection on different subjects, whether it be Kashmir issue or human rights or Allama Iqbal, and your love for the country that is Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll end with this little quote by Henry Miller who says that writing is its own reward. We see in the case of Dr. Maqsood Jaafri that 26 books in 7 languages, whether it be poetry or prose, has brought him to an international arena, has given him the knowledge not only for himself but also for people around him and the society in general and the different cultures around the world on what Islam, what Allama Iqbal represent for the Muslims of the subcontinent and Pakistan. We need to inculcate that level of love for our Qaid, for our national poet, for our religion and for human rights. So, Khalid Butt bids you farewell from this episode of Sky's Element. We'll be back inshallah next week, same time, same channel. Take care of yourselves and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much.